So starting off with Shedeur Sanders and doing some research because you see, hey, the Browns are opening training camp tomorrow, right? The 18th. So where are we with Shedeur Sanders? You know, this is one of those stories that I think I'm very interested in because I feel like he has the skill set to be a number one quarterback in the NFL. I certainly think he's better than Dillon Gabriel. I certainly think he's better than Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco eventually. Right now, I think Pickett and Flacco have something that Shedeur just doesn't have right now, and that's NFL experience. And, you know, that lends itself to Flacco maybe being the starter or Pickett. Apparently, the Browns have been pretty pleased with what they've seen from Kenny Pickett so far. But that's where this conversation starts. Like, what really have they seen? When you talk about ESPN's beat writer covering the Browns was talking on NFL Live, mentioning that Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders really have not gotten to do much football-wise at all to turn heads or to prove their worth in OTAs. I mean, that's basically installation stuff, right? Getting to know the offense. But now the time is coming. And in all the videos and everything that we've seen from Shedeur Sanders, whether it's in OTAs or most recently at a high school in the Cleveland area just over the past few days, right? Like social media posts have come up. He hasn't really been posting much himself, which I always think is a good sign. But he's been working, and he looks crisp. He looks accurate. Of course, he looks ready. And one quote that was conveyed to me and to all of us on NFL Live by that Browns beat reporter was that the Browns organization, and this is so important, this next quote, okay? They love what he is doing in the building. Now, we talked earlier this week, and I talk to folks around the NFL and having played football in college. I still have relationships with coaches, and I know the language. And when you hear things like we're pleased with what he's doing in the building, that means he's showing up early, he's staying late, he's watching a ton of film, he's putting in the work. That's, again, it's a tough example, but like that's the exact opposite from what we were hearing about, and speaking of the Browns, from someone like Johnny Manziel, right? Like, or from somebody, who was the guy now? It's in my head. Purple Drank, LSU, Raiders, first pick of the draft, Jamarcus Russell, right? Like a guy like that. They literally sent him home with a playbook, and they put like a CD in the middle of the playbook that he was like supposed to discover and comment on. And of course, he didn't open the playbook, so he didn't even mention the CD. Like there's many stories like that about young quarterbacks that are extremely talented coming into the NFL, where they just don't do the work, right? TNT, a coach I used to say, takes no talent, right? Takes no talent to show up early and to stay late. Oh, by the way, though, Shedeur Sanders does have a lot of talent. And that was another thing. Very impressed with his accuracy. The Browns organization had spoke about that. So speeding tickets be damned, okay? Forget about that. We've moved on, right, as long as there's no more. No more of those sort of dust-ups off the field. But Shedeur Sanders seems committed, which of course he should be. He's a professional. But he also just seems to have that eye of the tiger, and he's taking care of the little things that will put him in position to be a productive member of the quarterback room for the Browns this season. I think he should start if he plays to his capability, right? If he plays up to his potential and handles what he can handle, controls what he can control. I really believe the circumstances will provide for an opportunity for him. And I also believe, having watched him over the past 2 years in the Big 12 as closely as I've had the opportunity to do so, he'll take advantage of those opportunities when he gets them. So I'm super interested to see what happens with Shedeur, but I feel like everything is in place for him to make an impact there. One more quote I wanted to share with you guys about worst case scenario for Shedeur, right? Let's say that he has a terrible camp on the field and he loses out on a quarterback competition that's about to take place with Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett. I don't even include Joe Flacco in that because Flacco is, I think, head and shoulders above that group going into the season as the odds-on starter, in my opinion. But I'm not there. But here is, if worst case scenario were to happen, right, and Dylan Gabriel gets that third spot and Shedeur is the odd man out, when it is time to play, it's time for me to play. This was a quote by Shedeur, right? When it is time, I'm sorry. Let me read the quote. This is not the quote I wanted to read. Okay. This is the quote from The Insider that was on NFL Live, who covers the Browns. If Gabriel does beat out Shedeur Sanders, it's believed he will be traded rather than cut. So that's interesting, which opens up a whole nother can of worms, right? Like, okay, does that mean like, would the Cowboys trade for Shedeur, right? Like, oh, man, like it's almost like a whole nother draft process. Now, obviously, it'll come without the fanfare, and it'll be probably, a crawl at the bottom of your screen when you're watching an NFL training camp or a preseason game this year. But if Shedeur gets cut, he's more like – if Shedeur doesn't get that third spot, he's more likely to get traded than cut. Which I find interesting. But here's a quote we'll wrap it up with from Shedeur Sanders. When it's time for me to play, it's time for me to play. But I'm not looking too far into the future. I'm focused on small things, and over time, big things can happen. I mean, not only do we get confidence and poise, we get a fortune cookie, right? I like that last part. I'm focused on small things, and over time, big things will happen. I like it. Little cliche, but I like it. I'm in on Shedeur as we head into training camp, which is like, I really am rooting for this dude. So when I hear stuff about the speeding tickets and when I hear sports radio talk about, let's listen to him talk about actually being sorry about the speeding tickets when it's obvious he's not sorry, let's put that behind us. Let's get to the field, right?